Okay, Q&A time. Here we go. First time recording stuff also, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I got quite a few asking just in general how I got into Mandela Catalog. So, like most people, again, it was just like in my recommended, and like I was like, oh, like just the thumbnail itself. I'm like, oh, this is kind of spooky looking. Like, oh, I guess I'll check it out. And yeah, like it actually it was one of the first few things that actually scared me for once. And I'm like, oh, like, because it's a different type of horror, not just like jump scares and it just like, yeah, stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I actually like this, and then started watching more. And then I was like, oh, the characters are kind of cool. So I drew them, posted them, and yeah, and here I am. Oh, and add to the last point. I also discovered it like late October. I can't remember the exact day, but it was late October. Gonna do the group questions where I guess a good amount of people have asked the same question. Another one I got is how long I've been animating, and I actually looked into this recently because I wasn't super sure, but I found my first animation back on Flip No Hatina. I don't know how many people actually know about that, but I looked into it and I've actually been animating for 10 years now. I did take a break, like a few months break after the website shut down, but I got into it again with like the new Flipno Studio 3D that came out. But yeah, so around 10 years or so. Alright, another group question is, who is my favorite Mandela Catalog character? So, I think I'd say Jonah, because like he gets a good amount of screen time, so I'm like, okay. And he has some like depth to him. There's like a little bit of like character to him, and yeah, they're like what is it? Volume 2. They actually like go through their characters like a decent amount. Of course, it's like we all know what happens, but like yeah, I'd say he's my favorite so far. Another I got also was who's my least favorite. I don't know if I have a least favorite. I think I don't dislike them, but I guess I say my least favorite are the ones that are like mentioned but not further built upon, like in the information thing where it's like, oh, how to determine the type of alternates. So I'd say like the ones that are shown, they're like the no face woman, like N kind of too, like he's just kind of like a shadow. So I think I'd say the least developed characters are my least favorite. Okay, actually getting into specific questions now. And sorry in advance if I don't say your name right. Okay, so Magical Girl Neru asked, what was the episode / scene that scared you the most? I think initially, like the first scene where it's not that much, but in the information thing that Alex did for the MAD, where it was towards the end where it was saying that like, oh, don't open your eyes because the thing that you assumed was like farther away is actually inches from your face. I remember seeing that, and I was watching these like late at night, and it like low-key sent me into a panic, because I was like, oh god, like no, I just kept thinking about that late at night. I was like, oh god, like my room's pretty dark, and I sleep next to like a closet, so I was like, oh god, what if I think I see something in there, but it's not, it's right next to me, like, I don't know, but I'd say that was the scene that scared me the most from the start. Okay, Lycan Fangs asks, can you do an animation tutorial? Yes, but probably not not on this video, but probably in the future. I could do like its own separate video if enough people are interested, possibly. Mr. Glockhead asked, what's your favorite video game? A lot of people who follow me on other socials already know, because I never shut up about it, but The Last of Us series, for sure, hands down. Just because, like, the world built on it is so detailed, and just, like, so many things that are built in real life, but adding its own elements to it, where it's, like, kind of like the blurry line where this could happen, probably not, but, and the characters themselves are so, like, they're so interesting, because it's not always like, oh, this character's good, oh, this character's bad, well, some are, but there's like a blurry line between characters, especially with what viewpoint they give you. Like, okay, I'm not gonna go into, god, I'm being a nerd, but I'm not gonna get super into it here because this is a Q&A video, but like, yeah, it's a really cool series. If I recommend it if you don't mind a lot. There's a lot of dark themes in it for sure, but if you don't mind that kind of stuff, then yeah, I really recommend it. Okay, Isabel asked, congrats, thank you. What's your favorite animal, if I have one, and do I have any pets? My favorite animal is is very cheesy, but I really like dinosaurs. Like, I don't know, they're just really cool animals. Specifically like, the velociraptors, because they're like pretty cool. Or like a Utah raptor, the ones that are like technically the ones that are in Jurassic Park, but they're not actually velociraptors, they're more so Utah raptors. And I do have some pets. I have a bird and I have a cat. Okay, Amelia asks, do you like Mr. Gabriel? Yeah, he's cool. He's a little spooky, scary, a little sus. Hey, he's a cool character. Okay, Foxy501 asked, if I were in the world of Mandela Catalog, how long do I think I'd last? And if there was a crossover with any piece of media, what would I want it to be and why? The first question, it's like, I don't know, I'm tired. Sorry if you can hear my bird, by the way. I'm tired because, first of all, like, my depression, I'd be like, oh man, like, they'll take me out real fast. But then my anxiety would be like, nope, okay. Like, hide up in a corner or something, so, like, I could stay alive longer. So, either like, right in the beginning, or just ride it out for, like, a bit. I'm kind of tired. Crossover, I actually did an AU, where it's Mandela Catalog with The Last of Us. And so I have the AU, and there's a bit of art of it on, like, my Instagram, if you guys want to see. I have a tag for it. But I think that just because they're different worlds, but they're similar in a way, where they're both, it's like humans trying to fight against a force that they don't know a lot about. I think it'd be an interesting crossover. Okay, another one from Fleshbone. How did I find my art style? What was the main inspiration behind it? And am I a Hispanic? So, my art style, actually, it was when I first started drawing. I mainly drew in, like, the Invader Zim art style, if you guys know it. I mean, it's kind of, like, you can still kind of see it with, like, the head shapes that I do. But how I found my art style through that was just, like, I started off with the style itself, like, mimicking almost everything. But slowly, over time, I started adding my own things to it. Like, oh, let me change, like, the eye shape, or, like, the ears, and then how I did, like, the bodies and the hair. And just, like, slowly, I developed my own style from it, if that makes sense. And I guess, yeah, that'd be the main inspiration also for, like, my art style. And yes, I am Hispanic. I am, in fact, Mexican. So, yeah. 3D Among Us Gamer asked, is Mandela Catalog a good series? Nah, man, I don't know. It's kind of boring, kind of eh. Don't really see much in it. Maybe pass over it. I don't know. Water asked, how did I get into drawing? And other than that, just yeah, how did I get into it? It started off when I was younger. I mean, I don't remember exactly how, but, like, what I remember, like, when I actually really got into drawing was I really loved, like, the Kirby games when I was a kid. And I was like, oh man, I love Kirby. And then I'm like, oh, he's pretty simple. I think I can, like, draw that. So I started drawing Kirby, and then just, like, moved on to, like, the more detailed characters. And then that's when I started to have, like, a love for, like, oh man, I love, like, drawing these characters. And then I started drawing more characters, like, from shows, like, cartoons and stuff. And that's, like, I think one of the main things that got me into it, especially since, like, I drew and then I showed people and they were like, oh, it's really cute, really nice. And yeah, that's how I got into drawing. Okay, Redacted asked, well, they asked a few questions, but most of them I answered. But the one I haven't is, do I have any other fandoms I'm in? Yes, kind of, sort of. Like, I mentioned The Last of Us, but I do have other, like, fandoms in general I like, but I'm not in the fandom themselves. Like, I just kind of, like, draw, like, a couple things I like from series here and there, but I'm not really as involved in the fandom as I am with, like, Mandela Catalog. But yeah, I do like a bunch of other stuff. I'll probably post a few pictures on the screen of, like, other series I like, but I'm not super invested into, like, with other people. But yeah, I do like a bunch of other stuff. Mochiro's Neon Jelly asked what my favorite character is, which I already answered. And from all my videos, which one is the one I'm most proud of? I think so far, at least from what I've made, are, like, the music themed ones. Like, I did the Killer one, and then I did the Awoken one, The Woken one I like because I did try a bunch of new stuff. Like I never animated fire before. Same thing with like tears, or at least more detailed. So I like those aspects of that one. And the killer one, just like I tried to do more motion with each frame. Like I try not to leave them still for like longer than a couple seconds. So I think those two are the ones I'm proud of the most so far. But hopefully I can make more music themed ones because those are the ones that are more fun to me. Lupo asked, why did you pick up art, which I did already. What's your favorite season, color, and animal? Favorite season would be fall, just because it seems really pretty. Like, it's not too cold, it's not too hot. And that's when all like the spooky stuff and like Halloween. So I say that's my favorite season. Color, my favorite color is lime green, like the one I always use for my tie. And animal, dinosaur, like I said before. And yeah, the Discover Mandela catalog, I answered that. And my favorite alternate, I think I'd say the Intruder right now, because there's more like background getting added to him. So I'm kind of interested in where that's gonna go, especially with like 333 coming up. But yeah, so I'd say he's my favorite. LOL asked, what do you like to do besides animating? I guess drawing kind of falls in that too, but besides that, I do like to play a bunch of video games. I did mention, again, Last of Us, but I do play like Animal Crossing, Splatoon, stuff like that. I did used to write. I'm not really super into it now, just because I'm still rusty. But yeah, I'd say video games. I do like reading sometimes, books, but also like fan fiction. It's fun sometimes. It's interesting to see what people create. Like it's just as like really cool as art because it's its own form of art. But yeah, so I'd say reading and then video games. Kaylee asked, my question is, what software do you use to animate and what's my favorite fruit? The software I use is the same one I actually use to draw, which is Clip Studio Paint, because it has its own animation feature added into it. I do use the EX version just because the Pro version you can only animate up to, I think, 40 seconds or 40 frames, I can't remember exactly. But it's good for like loops, the Pro, but the EX I use to add my own audio, and then I can animate as long as I want, there's no restrictions. Yeah, and that's, I guess, the other thing I like too. You can add in your own audio, but you can also edit it in the program itself. So that's how you use the animate and add audio if needed. And my favorite fruit, I think I'd say mango. Mango's pretty good. Justerman, a human, asked, is animating hard? I always wanted to give it a try, but last time I did, it took too long. It's not hard per se, but it does take a lot of time, depending on what you're animating. Even just a simple loop can take like a while. So it's not hard. I'd say you just have to have like a lot of patience. And there are times where like it doesn't look exactly how you wanted. And when it does, I usually just say either, step back, take a break, come back to it later, and see how you feel then. But yeah, just really take your time. You don't have to rush it. When it's rushed, it probably won't come out exactly how you wanted. Just relax a bit and take your time, and it'll come out nice. Daisy3945 asked, what's my first reaction to being noticed by Alex Kister himself? Like, for example, in the clip of my video in his 500k special. It was really surreal. Like, and, oh god, it was like such a really happy feeling, I guess I could say. Because, like, it's one thing to be like, see a bunch of people like, oh, this is really cool and it's really nice and I really appreciate it. But even the creator himself, like, posting it on his channel, just showcasing, like, amazing art, it's like, I don't know, I remember that day, I was like, I was happy for, like, the whole day, I couldn't stop smiling, and every once in a while I would go back to it, and I would just replay it, I'm like, there it is, like, and then people saw it, and then what got me more is people recognized, like, my art, they're like, oh yeah, like, I know that artist, or, like, the animator, and it just made me really happy, and, yeah, so my first reaction would be just, like, super happy, overjoyed, and just, like, so honored. Shrimp Teeth asked, have I watched any other analog horror series, and what's my favorite movie? I have seen a few, like, I do know, like, Local 58, which, like, was, like, the classic. Like, I watched that one, and I really like that one. I'm, like, slowly getting into, the Walton Files. I've seen like the first 3, and then I've seen the Nexpo video on it. So I'm like slowly getting into that because it's just like the character design seemed really interesting to me. I did do a few sketches of them too, just because I found them cool. So I'm slowly getting into that. There was another one I saw. Gemini Home Entertainment. I saw that one too, and that one's really cool too. I'm not super knowledgeable on like the other ones just because I'm like barely getting introduced to them. But I do want to like branch out into other series, and yeah, I'm gonna try to like watch some more. I like theories behind them. But yeah, those are the ones I have seen, and my favorite movie. I think I'd have to say Inside Out, just because it's really it's so deep. But also I just really like the more emotional aspect of it. Mark asked, if you could go to one place for the rest of your life and stay there / live there, where would it be? I'm not sure exactly. I haven't really gone to a bunch of places, so I'm not really sure. And like my first thought was like Japan, just because like the culture is really cool and like they have really good food and everything, but I feel like there'd be a language barrier. So I'm not really sure if I'd stay there for the rest of my life. I think kind of where I am now. Not specifically where I am, but just like in general in California, just because there's a lot of cool stuff here. When had I started drawing and what was the first thing I've drawn? I mentioned before, like when I was a little kid, I honestly can't remember exact ages, but the first thing I've drawn was Kirby, I think, or like Pikachu, might have been either one of those. When did I first view Mandela Catalog? What I think of it? I did answer that. What would I do with $10 million? What would I do with $10 million, and why would I do that? I think the first thing I'd do is like buy a house for my bird and my cat, just to like live comfortably. Probably get like another house for like my family too, just so just like so we can live stable. I think that was like the first thing I'd do. After that, I'd just kind of be like, I don't know, just very general stuff. Maybe like buy some food, go to like amusement park, rent out like an amusement park for a day with like some friends. Not really super cool stuff. I think the main thing would just be like to live comfortably first. Kane asked, if I were to meet one of the characters in Mandela Catalog, who would it be, and give a reason if I want? My first thought would be Mark, but I feel like since he doesn't know me, he would be super paranoid, probably think I'm an alternate and probably try to shoot me or something. Maybe? I mean, depending on when. I mean, when we see him is when he's already locked in his room. Maybe it feels given another situation then. I think probably, just like, the more I think about it, probably Jonah, just because he seems more chill. Like, before everything happens in Volume 2. Just like, yeah, Jonah, just chill, vibe a bit, go drive somewhere, get some pizza. Yeah. Your local simp asked who's my favorite character, which I already answered. How to react about my video and Alex's video. I did that already. And am I a trans male to female or the opposite? I'm the opposite. I'm female to male. I'm pretty sure you can tell from my voice. I'm pre-T, if anything, or surgery too. But yeah. Caitlin asked, what's my next goal to achieve after 1K? I'm not at 2K. I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess the big one is like 1K for so far. I'm not sure what I have planned next. Maybe like, I was thinking of like a big collab, but like an animation collab. But I'm not really sure yet. I'm still thinking about it. Jordan asked, why do I not like it when people spam me on Instagram? And then what's 9 plus 10? 21. And why do I not like when people spam me? It just takes up my notifications a lot. I do miss a lot of stuff, especially when people spam like more than like 10 posts. It just takes up a lot of my notifications. Stuff falls through. I don't get to see everything. But yeah. Teddy Bear asked, do you have a Mandela Catalog AU? Which I did touch upon a bit earlier. And if not an AU, do I have theories I believe in? The most, I guess, talked about one that I do like believe in, or I guess has more evidence against it, is the Adam is the baby that was stolen theory. Like I do like that theory because I feel like it might be played into it more. But I don't know, maybe it's just like something that was a little like close but not exact. But I think that's a theory I like the most so far. Razor asked, what kind of knot is tied for the tie? I need to know. Okay, so here's the secret. I don't actually know. I literally just looked up how to tie a tie. First one that came up, the Windsor knot, which looks pretty similar, so I'm gonna say that. Yeah. Surprise. Gigi asked, who or what inspired you to become an animator? Surprisingly enough, it was another YouTuber, for the most part. Didnt Animations. Just cause like, again, like how she did the same thing where she's like, oh, she likes art. She just like posted a few videos here and there on YouTube, and it just took off from there. And I don't know, there's just like a very chill vibe with her videos. Like when she does like, oh, stuff like that's happened to her, or just like video games or like stories from her past. It's interesting to watch, and like the animation, like you could just add so much more with it, just to make the story more funnier, or just exaggerate a little. It's fun. So she's the one that actually inspired me to like animate and even post on here on YouTube too. And also the other ones I already answered, but the last question is, what are some other analog horror stuff you like? Again, I'm barely getting into the just the genre as a whole, but I do like the other few that I've seen, so I'd say those. Panimations, well, first of all, your message before, it was really sweet. It made me smile a bunch. Thank you so much. And your questions are, what's my process for animating, and what do I use? Do I do a sketch and then draw over it frame by frame, or do I dive into it just in color as I go, or color at the end, and do I save lip sync for later, or do it as I go? So my process, I guess I'll go through them, like the questions. My process is, I do sketch, like, I do a storyboard. So I do like the main frames, I sketch it, and in timing of where they're gonna appear. And then I add notes to myself where I'm like, oh, slide this frame here, or like add a glitch effect here. So I write notes on the storyboard, and then I do a sketch, like, of the first frame, and then I sketch the last frame. And then I do a middle one, and then I line those, and then I add in-betweens already lined, to make, like, to see how it flow. So I do all that, and then for every part. So I line everything, and then I do save the lip syncing for last, just because I want to focus on the movement first, and then lip syncing after. So I do the lining, the lip syncing, and then after everything's already done, I go into color it, just so I don't be too distracted by, like, when I play everything back, seeing some stuff colored and then some stuff not colored. So that's my process. Claudia asked, how long does it take you to animate, and what do you use? So what I use, I mentioned before, Clip Studio Paint. And how long, it depends. Like if it's like the meme shitpost animations, like depending on how long I sit down to work on it, could take like 2 days or like a couple days, if there's not a lot of movement too. If there's more movement, it takes more longer, like add another day or two. And if they're lip syncing, the lip syncing is like another half day. So I'd say for those shorter ones, it takes like maybe like 3 days, 4 days. And then for the longer ones, for the music ones, for sure, those take like way longer. Like a week, 2 weeks, depending on how much time I like set aside to work on them. But I think the longest one so far is the Volume 2 cast stream, like the one that really blew up first. That one took me like a whole month. I remember, because I was like trying to get all the lines. Like, I'm like, okay, here's like, I gotta get all the audio, here's what I want to record. And here's what I want to animate. So I had to get all those, edit all the clips together. And then just like all the lip syncing itself took so long. But that one, I remember that one, I put a lot of work into it. Especially since I was still in school at the time. And I still am right now. But yeah, that one took me a whole month. But yeah, depending on how much I'm adding into it, movement and lip syncing could take like longer or shorter. Gavin the Hedgehog said, why the fuck is Caesar in a fancy suit? Is he cheap? I don't know, man. Just want to look good. I don't know. He's a fancy guy. It looks like a nice suit. I mean, if anything, I don't know if he'd say he's cheap. It's a nice suit, so I just say he's a fancy guy. Alright, that was all the questions I got. I really want to thank you guys again for all the support. It really does mean a lot. Like, just when I started posting, the only reason I started posting these too, besides like, you know, being inspired, I'm like, okay, well maybe people might like this, was funnily enough, because Discord, like how it has a limit to the file sizes, I couldn't send the volume 2 cast stream animation to like some friends. And I was like, okay, well, let me just post it here and then I'll send you the link. But people really seem to like it, and I got so much support from it, and it really means a lot. So I just want to thank you guys again for the support and getting me already to 1K in like not super long of a time. But yeah, here's to another maybe 2K, possibly, who knows. And here's to a bunch of future videos, and thank you for the questions. It was really nice to do. Alright, thank you.